Hello and welcome to Men Behind the Curtain, the podcast about everything and nothing all at once. I am Pitt.
I'm Eli. How's it going, y'all?
And again, I want to say welcome to the shit show.
Yeah, that might be our fucking intro, the way things are looking right now. Because, good God.
Well, I mean, the Mango Mussolini was at it as usual.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out, you've mentioned this before, but one of the first things that, of course, really, there was a lot of things that he did, but, we're getting rid of DEI and we're going to go to merit-based employment, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Which, I'm sorry, what merits does Pete Hegseth have? He made it up to it. Yeah. I had to Google him because I actually wasn't sure that he had military service. He does. However, if you're going to be the Secretary of Defense, and I said this comment on Jonathan Phoenix's Facebook stream yesterday, if you're going to be Secretary of Defense, you should have reached a higher rank than Benson Winifred Payne. And
let me show you a little trick.
So for anybody listening or watching who's not aware of that, yeah, that's all he made it to was a major. So the Secretary of Defense was a major, not a general, not an admiral, not a colonel, not even a fucking lieutenant. Major.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure this shit show is going to just keep going, and we're going to throw it right to the proverbial fan while we're at it. I mean, you had mentioned the DEI. It was within a matter of seconds. I mean, literally seconds, that as soon as he signed the elimination of DEI and whatnot, the majority of those brackets or boxes or whatever you check on government websites was already removed. I mean, within seconds. So, which means they were already sitting and waiting on it.
Yeah. I would like to point out, though, so there's two things I want to point out. The first one is that, and I know you know this, but anybody listening may or may not know this, DEI is not necessarily about race. They have made it about race, they've politicized it about race, but it also protects the handicapped. It protects the Walmart greeter in a wheelchair who really, he's a greeter because he's not able-bodied enough to do another job, but he's still gainfully employed. It protects people, you know, if you still have a job and you have autism, Down syndrome, whatever the case might be, it protects them. However, on the flip side of that coin, it also protects, well, basically, you can get fired for being a red hat now. So
I really wish I was in that position, because all the fucking red hats would be gone. I don't fucking care. You're going to play that fucking game with people that don't deserve to be, you know, treated like shit, then guess what? I'm going to treat your people like shit. That's just...
There's a quote that I saw. I wish I could remember where it came from, but the dildo of consequence rarely arrives lubed.
Yeah. So, and then of course him coming out saying, you know, there's only two genders. First off, you've just pretty much shot science in the fucking foot, and I'm only going to throw out two of here because we can go down the fucking list. But there's trisomy 13 and there's Klinefelter syndrome. And if you don't know what those are, you can look them up. I'm not going to go into the whole explanation of them, but right there, trisomy 13 and Klinefelter syndrome already introduced two different genders to male and female, other than male and female. So, and we'll get in the whole, we can get in the whole genetics thing to where it's not just X and Y and X and X, there's an XXY and XYX, and there's an YXX, and what the fuck ever, any combination of the X and Y chromosomes. So fuck off, you orange fucking cunt.
Well, actually, I wanna piggyback on that real quick, because of course we all, at least when I was a kid, you know, I guess we'll say old world logic, and God, that actually hurts to say it, but we understood men and women to be XX or XY chromosomes, right? Now, for those of you who don't know this, that is not it. Like, well, they can actually do testing, and they have found that there are what they label as intersex genders, which is not XY or XX. Additionally, granted, this is not a complete sample size because I've never been tested. Nobody in my family has ever been tested. I'm willing to bet that the majority of y'all don't know anybody who's been tested. But of the sample size that has been tested, intersex is more common than redheads. We all know a redhead. Most of us probably know a redhead we want to fuck, but that's beside the point.
There's several of them. So, all right, I'm going to get off this fucking shit show, and we'll come back to it because I'm sure it'll come in there. We're going to get on to the catastrophe because at least with this catastrophe, it's not as bad as the catastrophe that was last week. So,
all right. This one might have some laughs in it at least.
Yeah, quite possibly. All right, first one. What mythical creature would you choose to have as a pet?
As a pet? Ooh. Yeah. I was going to say a centaur, but I don't think that they would actually want to be a pet. First off, I think they're actually too proud to be a pet, even though I would be able to fucking communicate with them. I know a few people who would want a unicorn for multiple different reasons. Shit, a mythical creature. Maybe a siren, and I'm saying that only because I would probably weaponize it.
Well, that's the first place my head went to is like, which one can I weaponize? And I wouldn't even need to weaponize the one that I would have as a pet.
Oh no, I know what I would do. I've mentioned before that. So my current D&D character is based on Dean Winchester from Supernatural. Well, my DM let me actually personalize it a little bit. So in the show, they have the Impala, which is the Impala is basically its own character, and they've pretty much named it Baby, right? Well, I have a Fey familiar that I call Baby. Most of the time that I summon it, it is an Impala. Obviously, but it's Patronus. Right. But it can take other forms. Last week I actually had it turn into a spider just so it could go basically investigate, just scout ahead for me. But since the Impala is its main form, even the spider still had the horns, so that was cool. But I'm gonna say a Fae because it could be a companion. It could also scout ahead. I could probably also use it to hit somebody in the ass.
See, the sad thing is I've got 3, and I can't choose between the pick one. So we're going to start with the basilisk. Then we're going to go on to the griffin. But this is where the weaponization comes in. A manicore. Yeah, I would ride that fucker into battle, swinging an axe and firing a bow, whatever. But yeah, and we'll call him Fluffy.
Hagrid would approve of that. Although Cerberus would actually be really fucking cool.
Cerberus would be cool. My problem would be I'd probably pet the wrong head.
And that's part of the reason why I had to change my answer, because as cool as a siren would be, I'm in fucking Ohio. There's no water here, or at least no water that I would want to drop a pet into.
Well, there was until they got rid of SeaWorld.
So. I was probably the cleanest water around here, too.
In Ohio, probably. All right. What is something fictional you'd like to see invented or discarded in your lifetime?
Oh, that's super easy.
Discovered. Peanut Gallery back there is like, you can't read my handwriting.
Oh, that's super easy. I would say a teleporter. It can be Star Trek style with the I'm fucking blanking on the word right now, but no, teleporter, because especially with the internet, especially with TikTok, I have met so many people around the country that I probably will never get to meet in person. But if the teleporter was invented, easy.
All right. So I'm going to one up you on this one, because all a teleporter is a souped up version of a photocopier. So basically, all you're doing is making a photocopy of yourself, sending it elsewhere. You are no longer that original version. And if you ever seen Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, you see what happens when you keep making copies of copies of copies of copies.
Which is what happens with Star Trek and the transporter, because it basically atomizes your original form, and
yeah. So I'm taking you one step further, and this is a very plausible, very probable, very possible way to get from place to place. And this is actually backed by, should be a god himself, Neil deGrasse Tyson, a wormhole generator.
That would be really cool, but I would wonder what are the limits, because naturally I just brought up Interstellar like a week. I think it was a week ago. It might have been 2 weeks ago. That's essentially what Interstellar was a wormhole generator, but it was something that wasn't generated until hundreds of years, and they did time travel. It's fucking, right. It's Christopher Nolan, so of course it's complicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got Neil deGrasse Tyson on my side because he's actually given the scientific evidence to support that the creation of the wormhole to go from point A to point B or wherever is something that is very probable. And he actually has backed it with the science. Now, if Neil deGrasse Tyson ever watches this, please, if I'm wrong on any of it, correct me. And then let's sit down and talk it over, because I'd really like to hear your thoughts on it. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have to get up at 5:30 anymore to get up for work. I can get up at 6:55 and still be in the office by 7.
So one question that I would have, or one hesitation that I would have about a wormhole generator, is how much control over it do we have? Because I watched Event Horizon, and no, thank you.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you even apply that, let's say let's look at a personal wormhole generator. And because basically, if you think about it, if you go back to Marvel and you talk about the X-Men with Nightcrawler, they're saying he's a teleporter. Technically, wouldn't he be going from wormhole? He'd be self-generating wormholes to pop in and pop out of.
Well, in Nightcrawler's case, it's a little bit. Well, he kind of is, but what he's technically doing is traveling through another dimension. It's not hell necessarily, but I think it's like hell adjacent, which is why when he teleports, there's a smell of brimstone.
And hell adjacent would be Earth, okay?
At the moment,
or at least the United States. All right,
or Australia.
I like Australia. I mean,
all the animals there are bred to kill us.
That is true, which is why 90% of the population lives on one coast. All right. I don't know what the percentage is. It's probably fairly close, so I'm not sure.
Honestly, that sounds about right.
All right. Worst flavor of ice cream.
That's a little bit more difficult because
you'll eat any flavor of ice cream.
Ice cream is almost like sex, and what I mean by that, even when it's bad, it's still not that bad. But probably one of my least favorites would be, off the top of my head, probably butter pecan. And my wife is probably, if she watches this, she's probably going to hit me for that because I know she likes that. It's not that I dislike butter pecan. I just like other things over. Actually, you know what? No, I take that back. Not the vanilla bean, because vanilla bean is good shit. Just but regular vanilla, like where it's like all artificial flavoring. Fuck that. Vanilla bean is awesome, but vanilla is trash.
See, I don't know. I mean, I've only really eaten ice creams that I like. Cherry cordial sucks ass. I don't know. I mean, I would probably say, other than cherry cordial, I really don't know. I mean, probably strawberry because it doesn't taste like strawberries.
I'll give you that. And cherry cordial for me, I don't dislike the taste. I dislike the texture.
There you go.
I've found as I've gotten older, there's a lot of foods and everything that it's very texture related as to whether or not I can tolerate it, and I'm saying
Nope.
tolerate very loosely.
I just thought of the worst flavored ice cream. Fucking pumpkin spice.
I have not had pumpkin spice ice cream. I have no interest in pumpkin spice ice cream. We've had this conversation before. Look, I have had a few pumpkin spice flavored things. Of course, the coffee back before like was a huge fucking craze. I just stopped at Speedway one time and like, oh, this is new. Let me try it. It wasn't bad, but Jesus Christ, it is overrated.
Look, I'm sorry. Coffee needs to taste like coffee, not like a dessert.
Some of the coffee creamers I've had are pretty fucking good, but I mean,
the coffee cream is good. I mean, I use a sweet cream in my creamer and stuff like that, but that's about it. That way I don't have to put sugar and cream in my coffee. I just use sweet cream. But coffee needs to taste like fucking coffee. As Dennis Leary said, coffee flavored coffee. So.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Oh, no, dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. I pray to God this is not a real product, but it was actually, it probably is. Cookies and cream Oreos. That's fucking Oreo flavored Oreos.
Well, okay, so now the best Oreo I have actually had was actually cookie dough Oreos.
I can see that.
It was a limited time, and I actually snapped a picture. I got it on my fucking phone just to prove to people that there was a cookie dough Oreo, and they've not brought it back because they're fucking idiots.
I hate when they do shit like that.
Yeah. Fuck you, Nabisco.
I hate when they take products like that and they just disappear. Everybody who I went to high school with, everybody had a thing about that fucking Sprite remix, and it literally did taste like they just dissolved Skittles in the Sprite.
So you want to talk about horrible pop? I come from the era of now we're not going to say New Coke because there's actually something worse than New Coke. Crystal Pepsi.
Oh God. That was just bland to me. No, the worst pop I've ever had by far would be the Diet Coke, because if I pick up a Diet Pepsi on accident, I don't like it, but I can finish it. If I pick up a Diet Dr. Pepper, which also, by the way, I barely drink any pop anymore. Like, y'all see me drinking water here all the time. That really is 90% of what I drink anymore. But if I pick up a Diet Dr. Pepper is actually not bad. It actually does taste pretty close to it. But Diet Coke, ugh, I want to hurl. That is gross.
Other than the occasional root beer, I no longer drink pop. But we won't argue that Surge was the best ever, because that shit had you lit for days. All right, and our last catastrophe. If you could design your own planet, what would the weirdest feature be?
The weirdest feature? See, I'm going to pull from my dad's side of my lineage when I say this, and y'all know what I mean when I say that. I'm going to have like a cliff that works as a really fucking high dive over an ocean. Not high enough to kill you, but you can get a good few flips in there before you hit the water.
Fuck, I can't swim. So I'd say the weirdest feature I would have everything would have like a blue hue. Like, you know, when you're outside in the morning and stuff like that, but the sun hasn't fully come up, but it's up enough, but everything just has like this blue hue, this blue tint to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it'd be like all the time. I don't know, maybe a silver sun, if that's a possible thing or whatnot. But
I know what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go Star Wars and have a fucking double sun, or no, triple sun. I was Tatooine. Jesus Christ, no.
Yeah, well, moisture farming.
Actually, it was funny. So I remember just going on tangent here, which is that's what we do. I'm like, so I saw a YouTube video one time, one of those shorts, and it was a clickbait title. Why did Obi-Wan age so badly in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope? Now, obviously, it was two different actors. You had Alec Guinness, and then you had Ewan McGregor. I think Ewan McGregor, I think is correct pronunciation. But if we're going to go with the in-universe reason, I'm like, honestly, there's a lot of reasons. There's 3 fucking suns. There's very little water. He doesn't exactly have access to fucking lotion and moisturizer. He's also white, so that's not going to work in his favor.
No, yeah, and I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, first off, people, it's a movie, it's a story. Back the fuck off. It's okay. You can have different actors play the same character across multiple generations. It's okay.
Just Marvel, please recast Kang. God damn it.
Yeah. Get on it, Marvel. Come on, Disney. So you had mentioned when we were talking about the invention, you were talking about the teleporter, the transporter in Star Trek. Let's talk Star Trek for a minute. Section 31, the movie was released on Friday, starring Michelle Yeoh, whom I absolutely love. And I really wish that she fought them on the script.
Really?
Yeah. I was waiting for something along the lines of they need to infiltrate Kronos and go, get somebody back, like somebody was captured or something. They had to go do something, and in order to round out they just lost a specialist, and in order to round it out, they would come back and get Michelle Yeoh's character and bring her in. That'd be like the whole but no, they didn't do anything cool like that. It was a little campy. Some of the acting from some of the secondary and tertiary characters was a little over the top. Seemed to be a little, I don't want to say forced, but not refined. So if I were to rate it, I would have given it maybe a. This is probably because Michelle Yeoh. Well, there was another shining light. Is one of the actors who was in it. And I can't remember his name, but he was like the leader of this Section 31 crew, and phenomenal fucking job. Actually love that character. But if it wasn't for Michelle Yeoh, I would have completely bombed on my scale, and I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
Jeez. I that makes me wonder if they're doing the same thing that Marvel is doing, as far as like kind of putting out too much content and possibly burning out their writers.
Quite possibly. I was looking at a few things, and it's just this story. When you hear within the Star Trek realm, when you hear Section 31, your ears automatically perk up. You're like, ooh, the Spec Ops portion of Starfleet. The kind of go outside the lines, but make it look like we're still inside the lines group. And this it fell short of capturing.
It fell short. That's their MI6.
Yeah, it fell short of capturing what Section 31 is actually, what Section 31 actually is, and what Section 31 could be. And it could have been a very, very easily platform to go off and do like another Star Trek series that is complete Section 31, where you have basically Mission Impossible television show again, but in the Star Trek universe.
Now that's spinned out of, was it Strange New Worlds?
Discovery, yes, but not Strange New Worlds. Yeah.
Where is that? Actually, no, I think I know that. So Discovery, that's after the original crew, Kirk and them, right?
No,
it's not. Oh,
Discovery is before Kirk.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
However, according to Paramount, in alternate universe,
which is fucking dumb.
But Strange New Worlds is in the Prime universe.
Yeah, and you mentioned before how they had a crossover, but apparently now the crossover is no longer canon. Which is fucking dumb. That it doesn't make any sense.
But the Lower Decks in Strange New Worlds crossover is canon.
Yeah, I feel like they're convoluting something, or maybe there was something about it that
Yeah. Well, they've
they're trying to edit
realized.
out, and they don't want to have to write to it.
Well, they wanted to get very creative and whatnot, and basically overreached. So now they're going back and erasing the areas. They're basically just erasing the stuff that the fans didn't like, which is bullshit. Because there's a lot of stuff in Star Trek canon that I thought is bullshit that should go away. But guess what? It's written to canon. So, you know.
Cool. So they're pulling a James Gunn. Gotcha.
Yeah, basically. And we all know he's a cunt too. So,
Yeah, I not to get off on a tangent with that, but that's one thing I really don't like about the way that he's rebooting the DC universe. And the only people that he's really keeping are the people that he picked out, the people that he casted or worked with. I mean, one
yeah,
exception to that, he did not pick Viola Davis for Amanda Waller, although she was still in his Suicide Squad movie. Phenomenal fucking actress.
yeah,
Phenomenal portrayal. I love her as Amanda Waller. Margot Robbie. I've mentioned this before. Margot Robbie was a little bit shaky in the very first Suicide Squad. Her accent is like kind of in and out, but by the Suicide Squad, she had honed it. She perfected it. Great fucking Harley Quinn. And he's keeping John Cena as Peacemaker. Again, I'm not mad at that.
no,
Honestly, Peacemaker is way better than it has any right to be. but
that is true.
but he's only keeping the actors and everything that he personally worked with, which is an absolute fucking dick move. Um, Honestly, I think that Jason Momoa made Aquaman cool. Although I am very much looking forward to him as Lobo. He will be fucking amazing for that.
Well, my thing with what James Gunn's doing is he's rebooting the DC universe with characters that nobody knows about or even fucking cares about.
Yeah, like with the new Superman trailer that came out. I'm going to be honest, I watched Arrow all the way through, and I still forget that Mr. Terrific is a character.
Yeah,
He's and it's not to say that he's not a cool character. Like he does have like some cool gadgets and stuff like that, or at least he did in Arrow. It's not that he's a bad character. He's also he's a double minority because he's black and he's a gay character. Or at least on Arrow he was gay. I don't know if that's actually canon to the comics or not.
I honestly I completely forgot he was a character until you just brought him up again. So
Yeah. So and that's exactly my point. Is that I think that he's largely forgettable. Kind of what you were just saying. Crypto, cool, but I might be a little weird to write him in as like a regular. Um, Now, I still don't know if he's let Ezra Miller go. He should, because quite honestly, Ezra Miller much more deserves to be fired than fucking Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill.
right,
Um, Gal Gadot was absolutely fantastic as Wonder Woman.
except the second movie.
I'm blaming Patty Jenkins for that. So Patty Jenkins did not write the first movie; she just directed it. But she did help write the second movie. So I'm like, okay, cool. So you can direct, but you can't fucking write.
Yeah, well, it's almost like they're trying to capture that 1980s feeling, But it was almost like watching the whole set up for some of the Marvel. Like to me, the very first Wonder Woman, great movie, but a lot of it was Captain America.
You're not wrong.
Um,
Um, I know some people found it a little bit hokey, the reveal with Ares and everything. I was cool with it, but I think I might be biased because I really enjoy that actor.
oh yeah,
I don't remember his name, but the guy who plays Lupin.
David Thewlis.
Yeah, I enjoy that actor. So even though you don't look at him and see God of War, I liked him. Um, Although they've gotten really, really fucking in the movie at least, they got really fucking weird with what Wonder Woman's actual powers are.
Yeah, I don't recall her ever flying, but that's me.
There are some versions of her that fly, although I don't like that because if she can fly, then she's just Superwoman at this point.
Yeah.
She's Superwoman with weapons. And what they did at the end of Wonder Woman 84, she's literally using the fucking lasso as a goddamn grappling hook in the clouds. That was fucking dumb.
I will say was impressed with Kristen Wiig's performance from Wonder Woman 84. Parts of it, yes, were campy and the whole concept, but she actually, from my perspective, actually did a good job at that part.
She didn't do too bad. And of course, we know Pedro Pascal is a fantastic actor, but he was given dog shit to work with.
Oh, yeah.
He did the best that he could with the material, but the material sucked.
Yeah. So
it's kind of the same thing that I say about like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
He's got to fucking go.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that he did a bad acting job. He wrote the part he played the part they wrote. I don't like what they wrote.
I agree with you that he played the part that they wrote, and what they wrote was fucking horseshit. However, I think if you gave him basically the same script that, and I hate to say his name, but Spacey got in Superman Returns, or Hackman got in the very original Superman movie from 1977, I think Eisenberg still would have fucking sucked.
Potentially. But you know, the one thing that I'm also probably the most I want to cry over is that because of the reboot, we as fans are being robbed of Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke.
Yeah.
That was looking so fucking good.
That would have been. That could be a fucking standalone movie in and of itself.
Probably would have been. He easily could have been the best depiction of Deathstroke since Arrow with Manu Bennett. Bennett was fucking good. Which
is really it got me hooked on the first season of Arrow, is because I was like, oh, that's Crixus from Spartacus. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
They poached the shit out of Spartacus.
Yeah, they did.
They had so many actors from Spartacus come over. And yeah, even there, Amanda Waller was, I don't remember her name, but the love interest for Crixus. She was a great Amanda Waller. She was great in that. Also, I forgot that, what's her name from Lucifer? Fuck. Yeah, she was also in Spartacus.
Leslie Ann Brandt.
Yes.
Yeah, she's also in The Ones Who Live.
I saw that. We've watched half of it. We just have not sat down and watched the rest of it. And I think that's more her natural voice, isn't it? Because I think she's a Brit.
Well, she's actually using a South African accent and dialect for The Ones Who Live, but I think it is closer to her natural speaking voice. So.
Well, we know from Lucifer she can play a badass very convincingly.
Oh, absolutely. I have one of my cats is named after her. So.
Right. One of my favorite shots with her is Mazikeen or Maze, whatever you want to call her, was the Halloween episode where she does half of her face is like her actual demon face, but you think it's makeup. That was fucking dope.
Yeah. And it's nice because now we're still staying on DC because that whole Lucifer thing was DC.
I love that, and it's still kind of is wild to me that Lucifer, which was so entertaining, I loved it, is the same source material as Gwendolyn Christie's Lucifer, which being the Sandman, which I now have very mixed emotions about because Neil Gaiman is an absolute horrendous fucking human being, and fuck him for life. But the Sandman was a good show.
I disagree.
I enjoyed it.
I hated it. It was. I loved parts of it. I loved the cinematography of it. I loved what it could have been, but my God, I sat through almost every single episode wishing I can get the first 45 fucking minutes back because it was just slow and drug out, and I don't think it was good as most people give it credit to be. It's like it's all right, but my God, it was horrendous to sit through. It was torture.
The one thing that I will say about Sandman is I do think that they may have been overly ambitious, and I think that it was very crowded. There were so many things happening and so many moving parts, and I think that was just doing too much. And the main character, Morpheus, God of Dreams, he's having a lot of interactions that I don't feel like he should have been having. Like when he's talking to the one guy, and he literally just extends his life, just because I'm not gonna die. Now, granted, that did make for some very interesting scenes and interesting conversation and everything, but what does the God of Dreams have to do with this? This is so far out of his fucking purview. It didn't really make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I are they making a season 2 to that? I hope not.
They supposedly are. This is another thing that I really wish Netflix would stop doing, is that as soon as they announce it, as soon as they're planning for it, then on the loading screen it'll say new episodes coming. But then it
Right.
says that for 18 fucking months. And it's like, yeah, you could have just held that title off for a while.
Yeah, well, Netflix isn't the only one. Stars has been fucking doing it because Stars has been doing this for over a fucking year when it comes to the House of Asher, the Spartacus spinoff. So
I forgot about that show.
I kept getting like a fucking notification. Oh, the House of Asher's coming. The House of Asher's coming. So I got fucking Stars. 6 months go by. No House of Asher. I'm tired of paying for fucking Stars because I'm not fucking using it.
Yeah.
I get rid of Stars. Oh, come back and watch the House of Asher. It's not fucking there, you dumb cunts. Now all of a sudden, this time of year, I'm getting the House of Asher. It's like, you know what? Go fuck yourselves. I'll wait till it's on Netflix.
Honestly, that's not a bad plan because I know it's going to go over there anyway. And I swear, sometimes there's just too much content. I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, but of course, we have Dexter, New Blood, I believe it is, or Original Sin.
Well, I haven't even watched Dexter, the original.
The original run of Dexter is he is a good character.
Yeah, but the fucking creators of the show stole my fucking idea, so they can fuck off, you dumb cunts.
My thing about it is that the showrunners, I feel like, lost their courage because the original run of the show, fuck it, it's been like 10 years old now. I don't care if it's a spoiler. His sister, she died, and then he just takes his boat and drives off into the storm. He's pretending to kill himself, and then he just goes to like fucking Alaska or something. And I'm like, no. Look, he targets people who escape prosecution or whatever. So he is targeting bad people, but he himself is a bad guy. He is a serial killer. His just ending is prison or death. That's what he deserves. So I felt like the original showrunners didn't want to kill him off they didn't want to do either of those things because they were scared of pissing the fans off. Then pussies. We have
fucking pussies.
That's my thought. And then we have Dexter New Blood, where his son Harrison, this is like 18 years later, Harrison finds him. Another spoiler warning. Hey, the show's like 2, 3, 4 years old. Harrison actually kills Dexter. But here's the thing. I said for years that was what Dexter deserved. I'm happy with that ending. And now we have Dexter Original Sin, which we're going back and showing him as a young man, getting into the Miami police force. Okay, there's maybe some story to tell here. But then we also have a sequel series, which is going to follow his son Harrison. And I'm like, you're flooding it. You're milking the fucking shit out of this, which makes me wonder, do you have a good story to tell? Or are you just cashing in on popularity?
Probably the latter.
That's my thought. Like, I do want to check it out. I do like Dexter as a character, but we didn't ask for this.
So, since we're speaking of additional seasons, I don't know if you've seen this sitting on Netflix, and to me, this is probably one of the best sleeper shows that I've come across. Is a show called Night Agent.
I have seen that in my algorithm. I haven't actually watched it.
So it came across. It was like maybe last year, 2 years ago, whatnot. The very first season came across, and the wife and I sat down, watched it. It's like maybe 8, 10 episodes or whatnot. We're like, holy shit, this is actually pretty fucking good. And so the second season started Thursday, was just dropped. So we started watching the second season with like maybe 3 episodes in, and it's just as good as I remember being the first season. So it is actually a surprisingly good show. I'll be honest, you would not be able to tell it's fucking lower budget.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that might be. Well, then again, sometimes with lower budgets, I think they do come out a lot better. Not to change the conversation too much here, but I know that like the Tom Jane Punisher movie was a low budget movie, and they also were on time crunch. He had to film it like within like literally a month. The entire movie was shot in a month. But I honestly thought that they did a really good job with that. You know, the some of the effects, like he did use practical effects for the explosions, but he was able to get away for cheap and yada yada yada. So sometimes a low budget is good. Hell, I've mentioned well, this is apples and oranges, but I've mentioned like M. Night Shyamalan is
Yeah.
at his absolute best with low budget movies. However, what M. Night Shyamalan specializes in is creepy shit, and Night Agent looks more action thriller type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So apples and oranges, but yeah, low budget doesn't necessarily mean bad. But
Yeah.
that's
I mean, the acting is solid. Surprisingly, the writing for a Netflix original, it's the writing is fucking solid. So yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. Night Agent on Netflix.
I don't know why I thought of it, but I do want to check out the Night Agent. I didn't know that season 2 came out, so that might be worth me checking out. I for some reason it also reminded me of Charlize Theron, The Old Guard. I haven't watched that movie, although I thought that was an interesting premise.
There is going to be a second one of those.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, and Extraction. That's another one I wanted to watch.
There's 3 of those, I think.
I know there's a second one.
2 or 3. There's 2 or 3. Well, I think rumor mill is there might be a third one, but the very first Extraction with Chris Hemsworth, I thought was just really fucking good.
I'm actually finding myself becoming more and more of a fan of Chris Hemsworth because he does seem capable of pulling off like really good roles. There's one that he did. We're not going to count Men in Black International. We're not doing that. But there's one.
Well, it did have Tessa Thompson, and that's at least worth the price of admission.
Well, and genuinely, I think that's what they were banking on because they have very good chemistry in Thor Ragnarok. So I think they were banking on that chemistry when it came to Men in Black International. But there's another one that he did. I'm looking it up right now. I believe it was called Spiderweb. He plays he's a doctor at an island, but he's crooked as all fuck. I think maybe Jake Gyllenhaal might have been in that. So yeah, there is an Extraction. Spider Head. That's what it was. And no, it's not Jake Gyllenhaal. It is Miles Teller. Miles Teller is actually pretty solid. You wouldn't know that if you've only seen him in Fantastic Four. But now in Whiplash, Miles Teller was fucking phenomenal. He really did learn how to drum for that movie. His hands were really bleeding when he was doing that. Sure. That movie also made me not like J.K. Simmons, but we've had that conversation.
but everything else J.K. Simmons does makes up for that.
Not Schillinger, not an Oz. Okay, fantastic acting, but a piece of shit human being.
No, piece of shit human being, but I mean, the dude's acting is just whatever part he's given, he fucking nails, and so.
So yeah, here's the plot. Here's the summary for Spiderhead with Chris Hemsworth. In the near future, convicts are offered the chance to volunteer as medical subjects to shorten their sentence. One such subject for a new drug capable of generating feelings of love begins questioning the reality of his emotions. So basically, it's all experimental. They're on some fucking island and everything. They basically have drugs that will not just love, but it can induce other feelings. Laughter, happiness, all kinds of shit. And Honestly, I thought it was really good. It's a very good, serious performance from Hemsworth. We know just from him doing the Thor movies that he can do humor. I don't really like the brand of humor that they use, specifically Taika Waititi. I his flavor of humor is not my
Right.
thing
Well, it worked for Ragnarok, but it did not for Love and Thunder.
at all. No, it didn't. Um, for me, one of my favorite parts. There's a meme going around about Love and Thunder when Christian Bale's character Gore, when he's like dying at the end, and he's laying down. They're like, he's not dying. He's exhausted from carrying the movie for 2 fucking hours. Which honestly, I will agree with that. Gore is my favorite part of the movie, bar none. And like it's gore, and then everything else is a sharp drop off.
Yeah, absolutely. I,
But
I completely agree with that.
but yeah, so I do want to check out Extraction. I am finding myself more and more a fan of Chris Hemsworth. I think, and maybe this started because I remember he was supposed to be stepping away from acting. He had a risk of dementia. I don't believe that they said he has it, but he was at risk for it, and he
At
was
his
stepping away.
age? At his age?
I think what it was is that they detected markers. So it was something that, he's not sick right now. He's not at risk in the near future, but there were markers to where he could when he gets older.
Well, I mean, technically, damn near everyone carries those fucking markers.
Well, I remember the headline was that he was going to step away and reevaluate his health for a little while. But this happened a good, 3-4 movies ago. So maybe he's done evaluating.
Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, and even if it's something that happens down the line, let's say 70s, 80s, or whatnot, I mean, he is in peak physical condition. I'm sure he has a pretty good diet, and continues on his exercise regime and stuff like that, which would therefore prolong the onset.
Yeah, and one thing I've heard about this, I don't know if this is true. Maybe you do, but I've heard that the whole thing with, dementia and all that somewhat is one of those use it or lose it things, meaning the more that you stimulate your mind as you go through life, the more you hold it off or avoid it altogether. I don't know if that's true,
Eh,
but
there,
the math
there,
makes sense.
yeah. I mean, there are studies that suggest that, and there are studies that refute that. So, I mean, it's like with anything, you have both sides of the coin to it. But there's other things that come into play. Certain predispositions. But the best way to prolong onset of anything is to lead a healthy life, as healthy as possible. Regular exercise, a good diet. Stay away from things that aren't good for your body, because that whole the body is a temple thing. Well, it literally is. I don't
Yeah.
treat. I kind of treat it like a Chicago subway station. But yeah,
Yeah, I obviously I'm not that much better. I hurting my leg, that almost felt like a fucking betrayal because I'm over here like I'm finally trying to do better, and you fucking thank me with this.
that's age for you, man.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and I mentioned how one of my friends, I actually play D&D with them. I said like, oh, Morgan, they've been hearing me bitch about my knee for like 3 months now. And then someone was like, "What'd you do to your knee?" I'm like, honestly, I still don't know. And then Morgan just chimed in, "It's called age." Like, that's fair.
Well, I mean, you said you were doing something, at the gym, you had a workout, whatnot, and you were walking, all of a sudden it popped, and then that's, I sit down, in my desk chair, and I stretch out my legs, and guess what? They pop. So, and that's without any physical exertion.
Right.
So wait till you get to be my age.
Yeah, I mean, no, I get that now. I mean, hell, if I try to like squat down, just trying to, stretch my quads and hamstrings and all that shit. Oh yeah, no, I sound like a fucking bag of Rice Krispies.
I mean, it's like just like popping bubble wrap. It's like
Yeah, I sound like when you bundle it together and then twist it.
oh.
That's what my knees sound like.
Actually, you know what? So one of the things that I learned very early on in my I don't want to say acting career, but with voiceovers and whatnot, when doing the Foley stage. And so if you want to make it sound like bones are snapping and whatnot, you actually take a bunch of celery and you grab them and then you twist it like that. And
Nice.
it gets
Yeah.
that, that crack. So most of the bones breaking and whatnot, at least way back when, was celery snapping, you know, into a microphone.
That makes I actually love when I see that footage from like sound stages and how they make different noises and everything. Um, Conan O'Brien did something like that a few years ago. It was fucking hilarious. They let him into the sound studio and he could just edit scenes however he wanted. And there's one like dude's supposed to get kicked in the nuts, and the sound that Conan stuck in there was like almost like a whoopee cushion. Like he gets hit and it's oh, it was fucking hilarious. I loved it. But
But
um
this is why I always love sound guys, because I mean they find ways, just like with was it they were hitting that telephone wire for Star Wars to get that,
yeah.
so
Yeah, and you know what? While we're on the topic, I'm just gonna actually, you know what? We have another episode coming up, so I get to plug it anyway.
yeah.
Um,
Why do you think
I
that gave you a lead?
Yeah, but speaking of which, yeah, so we do have a new episode of Valmont coming out. That's going to be February 1st, so this coming Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to be live streaming on the first because I might be in Indianapolis. Um, so John actually invited me to go out to the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
So,
nice.
um, but so yeah, new episode is coming out, and actually, since we're talking about sound stages and all that, I do want to give a huge, huge kudos to our sound guys, Marshawn, and do you know the other guy's name? I know his user, I know his handle in
I know his
Discord.
handle. I don't know his actual name.
Well, our sound guys are fucking incredible with this show. Um, they really do a good job of like almost kind of putting you in the scene. You know, the footsteps, the weather, just all that shit is they do so good with that. Um, but yeah, so we do have a new episode coming out. Um, I don't know. I might even see about if what I'm actually, and you know what, this will work as another lead in. So I mentioned before, I'm going to explore actually us possibly live streaming these episodes from now on, which will make it a lot easier on us. We don't have to edit. um, so what I might try to do if I can get everything to work out is, possibly next Sunday, because that'll be February 2nd, episode will be out. I might see if I'm able to, like, maybe we can do an episode where, we're doing a live stream. Maybe we can have some people from the crew pop over.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
But yeah, definitely, y'all please go ahead and check that out. That is audio only, so you can find it on YouTube, but it's only just going to be the audio with a backdrop. But I'll go ahead and make sure we drop that in the description here. That goes live on February 1st, unless you're a Patreon member. In that case, you've already got access to episode 3. And I don't even remember what happens in this particular episode. I
I
still
don't
have lines.
I don't have any lines for 3, so I have no idea what happens either.
I think that I get a little bit more dialogue as Frank, which I'll be honest, I love voicing Frank. It's fun. I might actually enjoy Frank more than I do Chuckles.
I can see that. I can see that.
But so yeah, definitely check that out. Of course, Spotify, podcast, Spreaker. It will be on YouTube. I'll put a link here in the description. You can check him out on Patreon. You can look at his merchandise. I still need to get a fucking mug. I might do that this week.
I still gotta get I gotta get a mug and the T-shirt, and I get paid once a month, so I gotta wait for that to fucking come in before I do any of that. So
I would like to get the T-shirt. I wanted to get the polo for the Harbor Club, but the polo is like $40. And Jonathan, I mean this with all due respect. I have a lot of trouble paying $40 for a shirt. I'm sorry, I do.
I have
Like,
trouble paying $40 for gas.
yeah. Well, if it's $40 for something, obviously that's worth it. I mean, like I'm about to buy a fucking computer or laptop for $400, but it's a good laptop. I can justify that. Apollo, Apollo for $40. Jonathan, don't take it personal. I'm not attacking you, and I know that there's overhead and everything. So don't. I'm not attacking you. Please don't kill my character.
The part of Chuckles will now be played by.
Right. I'm not coming at you, man. That's just my only thing. I realize that you have to price it a certain way, the manufacturers, overhead, all of that shit. But the crew t-shirt's like $20, and I can swallow that pill.
All right. Well, maybe I'll see you on Discord next. I don't know. It's like, man.
But yeah, I think that about wraps up all of our time here. We're coming up on about 55 minutes, so we didn't have any technical issues this time, thank Christ. I figured out what I need to do is I just need to come out here about 20 minutes early and let the glitch happen before we start recording.
Yep. And I'm about to go take care of my glitch because I haven't had a cigar in a while. So,
well, but anyway, so we'll go ahead and get this published. I don't know what day of the week we're going to do this on. We'll figure this out after.
So now you can now listen to Men Behind the Curtain, the podcast about everything and nothing all at once, noon on Wednesdays.
Okay. All right, cool. So that's going to be our regular day. Sounds good. So, yep. Well, that'll be our regular day from now on is Wednesdays, unless something happens and we have to push it till Friday, but we'll announce that as needed.
Like recording at like 9:00 at night on a Sunday and me having to work 2 jobs and try to get it edited. So,
well, and I think on that particular day, the laptop I was using died in the middle of it too. So that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. It took 2.5 hours to upload. So,
Jesus Christ. But all right. As I said, always, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, especially for the catastrophe. We're always more than willing to take some suggestions. I'm sure y'all can come up with some twisted shit.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Have a good one.